Good evening, everyone, and welcome into Sports Zone. I'm your host, Justin Ballou. Well, Mean Green Nation, it is time to put on those bowling shoes because the Mean Green football team is officially headed back to the postseason for a second straight year. Before we talk about the stars of this Stars team, let's talk about the new head coach. Pete DeBoer comes in, Rick Bowness steps down after a long tenure with the Dallas Stars. So, Matthew, how different do you think the scheme and just the overall outlook of this team is going to look this year? You see this December schedule, zero home games in the month of December is going to be really tough for this team. Matthew, how big of a role is this going to play in their season outlook? New York's 4-1, Dallas 4-1, Philadelphia, the only undefeated team left in the NFL at 5-0. So how does Dallas, we've already seen them play the Commanders and Giants, obviously. Where do they stand in this division just compared to all of these teams? Well, one of the best rivalries in the NFL is renewed this Sunday on Sunday Night Football, Eagles, Cowboys in Philadelphia. Stay with us through the break. We're going to talk about the UNT soccer season and how it hasn't quite gone how we expected it to. For the better part of the last 3 decades, UNT soccer has been the sport to watch here at North Texas. So many conference championships. Things aren't going quite as we expected them to this season. 7-5-2 is the total record on the year, 3-2-1 in conference play. So, Brandon, what hasn't quite gone right for this team so far? And just give me your thoughts on the season. John Hedlund is the man. Just look at his career tenure here at UNT. Has coached this program for the last 27 years since its inception back in 1995. Actually used to coach the UNT men's soccer team before they disbanded that in 1994. 16 conference championships over that span, 0 losing seasons. There should have been a flag on that final play, guys. It was an offensive pass interference in the end zone after that crazy one-handed catch was not called. UTSA obviously scored the touchdown and went up. But as you mentioned, Brendan, 25 rushing yards for UNT in that game is not going to do the job. What a throw it was. Austin Ani to the freshman Detravian Brown, 58 yards up the sideline to set up Ethan Mooney for the game-winning field goal. So not a lot of fireworks this season at home for this team at all. This certainly was one of them. UNT 1-5 all-time against UAB, and a revenge win would mean a revenge matchup against UTSA most likely in that Conference USA Championship game. Well, coming up next, basketball season is back here in Denton. We're going to break down the men's and women's teams coming up next. Well, I'm not really sure where you can get a $10 steak dinner, but let me know what that restaurant is. Abu Usman was actually the MVP of that game, named by the team. I think it should have been Kai Huntsberry, but as you mentioned, Tyler Perry was out that game. Is expected to be back either this Sunday against St. Mary's or hopefully next weekend before Fresno State. Do you see free throws as an ongoing concern this season, Matthew, or was that just a game 1 thing? The Stars finally re-signed Jason Robertson to a 4-year, $31 million deal, which is good for $7.75 million a year. So my first question, guys, why did this take so long? Let's start with Jason Robertson. Tied for third in the NHL in points right now with 25. What do you think has been his biggest key to success this season, Matthew? Well, Falzon's certainly optimistic about this UNT volleyball team as we move into this stretch run of conference play and this Rice game tomorrow night, number 22 in the country, coming into Denton. That's it for us here on Sports Zone. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at NTTV_sports, and stay tuned for NTTV news coming up next.